Tom Downey here for NFL Daily. Today's show focuses in on Brandon Aiyuk, trade rumors, possible destinations after some more chaos has emerged on the 49ers wide receiver, maybe at an all-time high even. Aiyuk posted a TikTok video on Monday in which he got someone, I would assume his whoever, to record him talking to Jaden Daniels, the Commanders quarterback, saying, "They said they don't want me back, I swear." Now, technically that could refer to more than just the 49ers, but that is the clear and obvious indication, implication, insinuation as it relates to Aiyuk and the 49ers, that he's unhappy. There was one claim that he demanded a trade that was disputed by the agent. It's been messy all off season as Aiyuk looks to get paid. Now, Ian Rapoport on his show The Insider is saying, it's not quite accurate from Aiyuk, saying, quote, "They do want him. They just want him at their price. It is not a negotiation, to my knowledge, that has been completely dead. They just have not done a deal yet. And it's pretty clear that Brandon Aiyuk wants the kind of money that Amon-Ra St. Brown ended up making, about $28 million on average over the first 3 years of his deal. The 49ers are not there yet. They like him. They really like him. They just have not been able to come together on a deal, so maybe that's kind of the feeling that Aiyuk was trying to give out. Look at the Niners offer here of $26 million per year is what Mike Silver has reported. There have been offers. We know that. It's not like Brandon Aiyuk accidentally posted this, right? Like, he did that on purpose. There is a reason behind it, whether he's trying to force himself out or, more likely, trying to get paid. The contract market for wide receivers has skyrocketed. The $26 million per year deal, not knowing the nitty-gritty structures, which do matter, by the way, would put him 8th for now among the highest paid wide receivers, knowing that CeeDee Lamb, maybe Jamar Chase next year, would surpass him. I don't think $26 million is enough for Aiyuk to say, yes, it's a lot of money, but Amon-Ra St. Brown got 30. Jalen Waddle got 28.25. That rough range, I think, is more along the lines, that's what Rapoport said too, of what Aiyuk is trying to get. Now, what we don't know is the guaranteed structure. We do know that the $26-ish million, well, was it Devontae Adams money? Was it Devonta Smith guaranteed money? Was it more in the $77 million per year range? That $10 million guaranteed difference is pretty sizable. The wide receiver market has exploded. The Niners and the Aiyuk camps have seemingly dug in a little bit, at least for now. We'll come back to that more in depth, plus some trade destinations. But I want some predictions. What do you think the Niners will end up doing with Brandon Aiyuk? T for trade, P for pay, W for wait. They'll let this whole thing play out. It's the pinned comment on today's show, so head down there and go vote, especially if the ad comes on YouTube. It is worth pointing out that, historically speaking, the Niners tend to drag these negotiations out. Think about how long the Nick Bosa one took. The Fred Warner one took a little bit. The George Kittle one took into August. The Deebo Samuel one was kind of like this. I was talking to Chase, or I told Chase Senior this the other day, our Niners Report host. Hey, there's no more Twitter likes. You can't see it anymore the way you used to be able to. Thanks, Elon. So you can't just like a tweet of a Photoshop of you in a Cowboys jersey like Deebo Samuel did. Got to get more creative. I kind of feel like this is in the same bucket in the end. Now, long-term, despite their short-term salary cap, it's $32 million, I think it is very difficult to see the Niners keeping both Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel together long-term. In fact, they've kind of prepped for that already. By the way, Deebo is now the 11th highest paid wide receiver. Two in the top 12 is a lot. Some teams do it. Philadelphia, not everyone. They drafted Ricky Parasol in round 1. They've re-signed Jawan Jennings, Ronnie Bell, Chris Conley, Trent Taylor, Danny Gray have all been on Niners rosters in years past. They drafted Jacob Cowing. Long-term, there will come a divorce, I believe, between one of Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. I'd rather keep Aiyuk. I know he's more expensive. I think he is a top 10 receiver at minimum in the NFL. Now, you talked me into Aiyuk and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jalen Waddle. I love all those guys. I might take Brandon Aiyuk. And I'm a big Sun God fan. Look at his production. In an offense, by the way, that doesn't throw the football all that much, Aiyuk's been crazy productive. He's gotten better every single year. He's only 26 years old. You're getting peak prime seasons out of Brandon Aiyuk the way maybe you wouldn't get with others. If they were to trade him, though, I think it'd be pretty expensive. Look at some of the recent trades of wide receiver ones or fringe wide receiver ones. Do you notice a trend here? Hollywood Brown went for a first, but also got a third back, so not really a first rounder. Tyreek Hill had the first, second, and more. He's not Tyreek Hill. A.J. Brown, a first and a third. He's not Devontae Adams, but Adams got a first and a second. OBJ got a first, a third, and Jabril Peppers. Stephon Diggs, a first and 3-day 3 pick. So you're talking in that first and third range. The disastrous DeAndre Hopkins trade was a second and David Johnson. That was a bad deal for Houston. Amari Cooper went for a first. Brandon Cooks went for a first and change 2 different times. Percy Harvin went for a first and a third. I would argue a first and a third round pick is about the rough value of what Brandon Aiyuk is worth in a trade. So do you agree with me? Is that the proper value? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote as we get set up for some Aiyuk trade destinations. First up on the number 5 I should say, for the Aiyuk trade, how about the New York Football Giants? They would have been higher pre-draft, but they did take Malik Nabers in round 1. I am excited about his long-term future and even short-term future, despite not great quarterback play in New York, if we're being honest. They have been linked to Aiyuk before. They have some playmakers at receiver. Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt both profile best as vertical threats. Wan'Dale Robinson can be your slot. Man, Aiyuk and Nabers together, all those years of frankly, trying to replace prime Odell Beckham the last couple seasons, they haven't been able to do properly. Easier said than done. I think you feel pretty darn good about that wide receiver duo moving forward. Number 4, the Detroit Lions. Now, this is a little bit complicated. The Lions, I think, could use another wide receiver to elevate the offense. But they also just paid the Sun God $30 million a year. Massive money for Penei Sewell and Jared Goff. Big money. They got cap space because they've been bad for a while and haven't had to pay very many people. But paying 2 receivers $30-ish million a year, I don't know if that's the path the Lions want to go. I think Aiyuk would bring another dynamic element to, like, Sun God, Jameson Williams, and Aiyuk might be the best receiving trio in the NFL. I think that highly of those guys. I think Williams is going to have a breakout season. But roster, management means you can't pay every player. You can pay any one player you want. Maybe it's not the best fit for the Lions. I forget who it was. I saw somebody suggest trading Jameson Williams to the Niners part of the deal. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I think you keep Jameson because he's young and a first-round pick and you want to see what he can do. Plus, all these trades, like you could send a receiver, the Niners don't need a receiver. They've already got too many, frankly. So prediction time. Who do you think will end up trading for Brandon Aiyuk? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. We have to include the Commanders kind of high up on this list, given the fact that it was Jaden Daniels, the player that Brandon Aiyuk was talking to on the TikTok video, right? Now, the Commanders, on one hand here, hey, always trying to add talent at wide receiver, right? And remember, Jaden Daniels and Brandon Aiyuk played together at Arizona State. That sounds weird. It is true, even though we're talking about a rookie and a guy entering his 5th year, which is kind of crazy. They have cap space, plenty of money to spend. Is receiver their biggest need? Like, is Brandon Aiyuk, if not the number 1, a damn good 2 or 1B to Terry McLaurin? Sure. They've spent top 100 picks on Diami Brown, Luke McCaffrey. They spent a first-round pick on Jahan Dotson. When you have a young, cheap quarterback, I'm normally on board just throwing assets to make sure he's the guy, give him every opportunity. Sorry, Giants fans, don't give yourself the excuse of, we never supported him. You got to figure that out quickly. Brandon Aiyuk would help that. Also, maybe you still want to go get an offensive tackle instead. Number 2 is the New England Patriots. And look, they did add wide receivers. They added Jalen Polk most notably. I think it is very fair to say, do they have a number 1 wide receiver? They got the cap space to pay Brandon Aiyuk with ease. You could cut Juju Smith-Schuster, and the cap hit year 1 probably wouldn't change very much. Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas, Javon Baker, the cast-off city of Jalen Reagor. They signed KJ Osborne. We can probably say they missed on players like Tyquan Thornton. The biggest thing for New England, The biggest downside to me, even with Brandon Aiyuk, the Patriots might be bad. Like, they might finish top 10. That would be a tough pill to swallow, trading away a top 10 pick. And if you're the Niners, you have control over Aiyuk. He's going to show up eventually. Not going to hold out the entire year. You've got a little bit more short-term leverage, and you don't have to settle for just any old offer. I will have more NFL videos for you right here on the channel at Chat Sports. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. The most obvious fit, though, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still have my doubts that Aiyuk gets traded. If he does, Pittsburgh is my betting favorite. They have been linked to receivers all offseason long. There's been about 5 or 10 false starts of, it's about to go down. It never actually did go down, by the way. New-ish GM Omar Khan is a bit more aggressive than his predecessor, Kevin Colbert, was. And getting another impact wide receiver is the big thing missing from the offense, if you believe in the Russell Wilson and maybe Justin Fields conversation. George Pickens, if he continues to play well, also profiles as a future $30 million a year wide receiver. That's down the line. Not going to pay him millions. You got time to space out those contracts. You drafted Roman Wilson, but then it's Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Wes Watkins, Scotty Miller, Denzel Mims, Marquez Callaway. It's the cast-off wide receiver 5 brigade. Doesn't do anything for you. Adding Aiyuk, which would probably cost you a first and a third, give or take, would be my guess, is pretty expensive, though. But you would put yourself up for a little short-term run, and if the quarterback spot doesn't work out this year, still have some salary cap space. Maybe make something crazy happen. So if an Aiyuk trade happens, I think Pittsburgh is the obvious fit.